Hi everybody, welcome to the Lord of the Reads. So it is time to do my February TBR with my TBingoR TBR game. That is a mouthful. I tried for many hours to come up with a name. That is the most creative thing I could think of. So, that is what we got. Before we get into the spins, as far as readathons, I'm going to be participating in Pullathon hosted by JD at JD Ray Reads. I'll link the announcement video down below so you can go look at it because she'll explain it in its entirety, which I will not because I am not able. But I'll leave that so you can go watch it. And I already picked the books that I'd like to read, so I'm going to just try to fit them into the prompts that I get. Also, this year, I don't know how it was hosted in the last years, but this year they have it split into teams, and because of that, I picked my team, and I have the prompts. So there are 5 prompts that I have to fit books into for Pullathon, and I'm just going to try to work them into the books. Also, another thing, I have books that I have to read for school, American Literature course. So I have some books that I have to read in February for that reason, and I'm also going to be, some of them I'm going to hope to overlap into Pullathon, and other ones will just be extra ones that I'm going to have to read in February after my TBR is done, or before, however I work that. But I think with that, we can go ahead and get into the first spin. Okay, so I just finished filming my TBR game, and I realized that I forgot to tell you guys how I did on January's, otherwise there would be a punishment. So I'm happy to say that I finished all of my January TBR on time with a week to spare, so that's amazing news. And now that you know that, I'll let you get back to your regular production. Okay everybody, so if you didn't see where I played this last month, then definitely go check that out, but I'll go through the rules. So I will spin the cage 5 times. I will pick 6 books, but the first one will be a nonfiction on free space. Then I will roll the cage 5 times, and I will get the numbered and lettered ball, and if it's on here, then I will have to look at the letter, because each letter is a different genre of fiction. So if I land on B, that is a horror, mystery, thriller, paranormal, something like that. I is dystopian, N is contemporary, G is fantasy, and O is a classic. So I will also have to pick a prompt over here based on the different rows, and then I will put my bowls up here so that it is simple to see. And with that, we can go ahead and take my piece and put it on the free space for a non-fiction. For my non-fiction book, I chose Relentless. God, I can't speak today. Relentless by T.S. Grover. This is a nonfiction about how to succeed in anything by changing the way you think about it and the way you respond and act while doing it. I believe that's what this book is about. I'm super excited to read this one, and I'm going to try to be getting to it in February. Okay, let's get started with the first spin. Oh, and he's trying to get away. Okay. 072. So I'm just going to put that over there, that way I know what order I did those in. 072. Okay. And that means then I will take a prompt. Green cover. So a classic with a green cover. Okay, the second book was a classic with a green cover. I'm choosing Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. These are going to be very much interpreted because there are books that I need to read, and there are lots of books that I need to read in February. But it is green. I'm not sure if the camera will show it, but there is this whole section there is olive, dark screen. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but that's what color it is. You're going to have to trust me on that. And this is also going to fit my Polathon prompt of book that is set in the Arctic. I have read this before. I don't remember too much about it, besides the obvious, Dr. Frankenstein makes a monster. I don't remember it being set in the Arctic, but I looked online for lists of books that were set in the Arctic, and this was on almost every single one of them. So I'm going to trust that they know what they're talking about, and read this one. Okay, let's go for the next spin. G58. That is also, I think, okay, G58. So to pick my third book, the prompt is a 5-star prediction. Okay. So G is fantasy, so a fantasy with a 5-star prediction. Okay, the next book on this list is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. This will be my third book pick for, it was fantasy with a 5-star prediction. This is definitely a book that I think I'm going to give 5 stars. I've seen so many good things about Sophie Anderson, and especially about this book and The Girl Who Spoke Bear. And this one, I mean, just on the cover, it's super intriguing, so I really want to get to this one. So, this will be the third book, and it also fits the Polathon prompt of an anticipated read. So this is definitely one that I want to get to. It's about this 12-year-old girl who lives in this house, and one day this house sprouts chicken legs, and it starts to walk away from the place that the house was. And just based on that synopsis, it sounds really interesting, and I really want to read it. Okay, let's go for our next spin for our fourth book. N35. Okay, so N35 is on the board, and N is contemporary, so I need to read a contemporary that is a sad book, or that I think will be a sad book, or just has a sad atmosphere. Okay, so the fourth book on this list, I picked The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The prompt was a sad book, and it was supposed to be contemporary. I know that this book is a contemporary, it's an old contemporary, but it's a contemporary. But a sad book, I'm not sure if the book itself is sad. This one's definitely up to my interpretation. I'm not sure if the book's sad, but the person on the front's crying. So, sad book? Probably. So we're gonna go with this one. From what I understand, this is a book set in the 1920s, and it's about Jay Gatsby, and who's in love with Daisy Buchanan, and they like having lavish parties. That's all I know. But this is one of the books that I have to read for my American Literature course, so either way I have to read it, and it fits the Polathon prompt of having a dark cover. So this is one of the ones that are going into both my American Literature and Polathon, which I'm super happy that I could squeeze some of those in, otherwise I would have an absolutely absurd TBR for February. So, this is going to be my fourth book. Yes, fourth book. I'm good at counting, I promise. Okay, fourth book. This one. Okay, let's go with our next spin for our fifth book. It is G57. So G57 is not on my board, so I cannot pick out of these. Instead, I just get to pick out of one of my extra prompts, and it doesn't have to be any specific genre. So, any book with plants on the cover. I think I can work that into one of the things I want to do for Polathon. Okay, so for the fifth spin, I got a... oh gosh, I don't remember. Oh, yes, yes, a book with plants on the cover. Okay. So, I picked The Girl Who Spoke Bear by Sophie Anderson. There are plants, they're all dead, but there are plants. So that one definitely fits the prompt, and it's also going to fit the Polarthon prompt of being a polar fantasy. Also, this book, The Girl Who Spoke Bear, House with Chicken Legs, and Frankenstein are all from my local library, Rolla Public Library. I'll leave their channel in the description and website. They do lots of fun things, and they always keep me stocked of books that I don't have and that I want to read, so shout out to them for always keeping me, stocked up. So, to The Girl Who Spoke Bear, from what I understand, it's about this girl who is always bullied for being bigger than all the other children, and then one day her legs turn into bear's legs, one day when she wakes up. This one does sound interesting. Mainly I'm just picking it up though because so many people said that they liked Sophie Anderson, so I wanted to tackle two of her books, so we're going to give it a try. And yes, this does fit prompt of plants. They're all dead, but there are plants, so it fits that. And it'll be the 5th book. I'm hoping that I get to all this TBR for Polarthon. It only lasts a week, and February is going to be extremely busy anyway, so I tried to pick either short books or middle grades that I could get through quickly, and this will hopefully be one that I'll be able to get through quickly. Okay, so for our last and final spin, it is B4. Okay, B4 is not on the board again, so I can pick a prompt. Odd chapters. So a book that has an odd number of chapters. I'll have to look into this one to see how many chapters my books have. Okay, 6th book on this list is going to be The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I ordered a copy, do not have it in yet. It'll be here like right in time for Polarthon. This is another one that I'm going to fit into Polarthon. Actually, all of the previous books besides the nonfiction book, but all the previous books are ones that I'm doing for Polarthon, so I'm super glad that I could fit those in. This one was a classic. I think it could be any genre. When I rolled it, it was a book with an odd number of pages. This one, also up to interpretation. I looked it up. Apparently, The Old Man and the Sea is not split up into chapters, which makes it one big chapter, which is odd. It's very much up to interpretation, but that's one of the ones that I need to get to for both Polarthon and my American Literature course, so I'm going to fit those in. And it fits the Polarthon prompt of being a book that is set at sea. So it definitely fits that one. And the book is about an old man who he's a fisherman and he hasn't caught anything, and he decides to go out like really far to catch something, and he ends up being pulled out to sea by a really big fish, and then has to try to figure out how to get back home. I've seen the movie. I think I've read the book before, but I don't really remember. So either way, I have to read it for American Literature, and if it's a Polarthon prompt, so that's one that I'm definitely going to be getting to in February. So those were all my TBingoR picks. There are 3 more books that I need to get to in February. 3 more books that I have to do for American Literature that I have to get to. So the first one is A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. I don't know anything about this book, just that I have to read it. I think it's a play. I think it's actually written as a play, but I don't know what it's about. So we're gonna figure out when I read it. And then I have The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. This is about a boy named Huckleberry Finn who floats down the Mississippi River in a homemade raft. I don't know anything else about that or what happens. That's all I know. And then And last, I have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I read this 2 or 3 years ago, and it ended up being one of my favorite books. I love this book, and it follows a young girl who's growing up, and her father's a lawyer and has to take on this case, and it's kind of her life through that and her finding out what it means to grow up, from what I remember. That's what it's about, and I absolutely loved this book. It was amazing, and I definitely can't wait to read it again for my American Literature course. So those were all the books that I'm going to be reading in February with my Polarthon and then my American Literature reads that I have to get to. So that's everything that I'm going to be attempting to read. The Polarthon is in the first week of February. It's the first week of February from the 1st to the 7th, and I have my 5 books picked out. I'm going to attempt it, and then after that I'll have another 3 weeks to go through my other books that I wasn't able to put on this list because I didn't have enough spins. But that is what I'm going to be attempting to read in February. So I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know down in the comments below what you plan on reading in February. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!